Welcome to Flip the Script with Vic, a sacred space for honest, unfiltered, and sometimes taboo conversations between women walking the path of truth, healing, and soul remembrance. What started as my personal exploration has become a communal prayer, a podcast devoted to amplifying women's stories in their own words. I'm your host, Victoria Nielsen, intuitive healer, mama, and space holder for the divine feminine. Here, we gather as cycle breakers, mothers, mystics, creatives, witches, and wild ones, flipping the script on what it really means to be a woman in today's world. Through raw interviews, intimate solo casts, and brave conversations, we'll chat about motherhood, mysticism, psychedelics, spirituality, and more. You'll be reminded that your voice matters, that your truth matters, that you're here to walk in beauty. So be the prayer, and let's flip the script. Are you ready? Let's jump on in. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Flip the Script with Vic. It's your girl, Victoria Nielsen. I'm super excited for another solo episode. It is May's energy forecast. I love doing these because once a month I get to tap into the energy of the Akashic Records and ask the burning questions for you all so that you know what the themes are, what the energy is, what you can really expect over this next month. And if you don't know what the Akashic Records are, that's okay. They're just an energetic frequency of love that absolutely anyone can access. I guess you could say psychic, I guess you could say spiritual, I guess you could say tapped in, a medium, present with what is, whatever you want to call it. Really, I'm just tapping into the energy that is all around us and really helping you hone in on what's important right here, right now. That's what I love the most about the records is they will provide for you the guidance that you need in the moment. So these come out before the month, just that way, so that you can have the most up-to-date information going into the month ahead. And we start this month strong. May starts with a full moon on May 1st. So as of the recording and releasing of this episode, you may already be feeling that energy because we can feel full moons honestly like up to 10 days before and 10 days after. And I know that might sound crazy to some of you, but our bodies are 70% water, and the moon is such a cosmic force in our lives. It's such a guiding force in our lives, especially if you're a woman. Your menstrual cycle follows the moon. We are innately attached to this beautiful feminine creative life force energy. And so of course we're going to be affected by it. So know that that's the first thing really coming up. And Taurus, and Gemini season here in May, May just feels really, really nice. Personally, having Uranus move into Gemini like it did on April 25th, I feel like was a big exhale for us Tauruses, Scorpios, kind of any of those fixed signs that were really, really feeling it when Uranus was in Taurus, because it does not like being in Taurus at all. So even though Gemini is a bit more unpredictable, that energy has a bit more air to breathe in. It feels a little bit more okay, I can relax. I don't have to be clutching my pearls and waiting to see what's next. Because the world has felt really doom and gloom lately, and it is, and it's not going to stop being that way. But I feel like in May, people have the opportunity to be joyous again. In May, you have the opportunity to choose your own joy over the suffering of others. And I want to remind everyone that joy is also an act of rebellion, that choosing that joy for yourself is something that you absolutely need to be doing in these dark times and is not selfish, that joy then spreads like wildfire. When you're joyful, you allow others to be joyful. You spread that joy. And think about it, right? When you actually smile at someone and they smile back, that ripple effect it has. Maybe you're just walking down the street or you're crossing the street. And, I used to be notorious for averting my gaze, not looking at people, not wanting to interact. But then I realized how much that could make someone's day, just smiling at them, just actually looking at them, maybe waving. Maybe you don't even do that. Maybe you do the head nod, but acknowledging another human being is just such a beautiful act of connection that more of us need to be having throughout the day, because we're always in our phones. May can be a month of beautiful natural connection if you allow it to be. If you allow yourself to break out of some of the patterns of always being on your phone or always being on your computer or always being taken out of the present moment. I was listening the other day to a parenting podcast, and they were just talking about how cell phones take us out of the present moment, that so much we are interrupted in our lives as adults. And can you even imagine what this is doing to little kids' brains? But I feel like if you have been living a life interrupted, if you have been living that kind of like stop, start, that you're in the midst of something and then you get pulled into something else, like May is the month to unravel that. If you can allow yourself to continue to slow down in a month that notoriously starts to feel fast, because it's the end of the school year for most folks. Like summer is coming. May tends to go by in the blink of an eye. And my challenge to you this month is, how can you savor it? How can you act like a Taurus and like really luxuriate in the energy of May, especially at the beginning before it starts to speed up when you get into Gemini season? Like, how can you really lean into that and really just savor where you are and find joy for where you currently are in life, instead of looking 10 steps ahead or 10 steps behind? Like, can you very consciously in May be where your feet are? Can you be present with what's in front of you? And I get it. Like, what's in front of you right now may not be very nice or very happy. It may be a difficult situation, but the universe is always conspiring in your favor. And the thing that is happening for you right now is crumbling, is uncomfortable, is causing pressure, tension, stress, and friction for a reason. Humans don't change unless we're uncomfortable. And we don't like being uncomfortable. So then we feel like we're forced to change. And this cycle of change, I feel like, has been a very negative thing, when if you can anticipate that it's going to come again, change is going to happen, it's inevitable, and you can prepare your body and you can be in the cycle with nature as it's ramping up for summer, right? Like still holding on to the vestiges of spring. That's when you're going to feel better, because you're not fighting against your natural energy as a woman. You're not fighting against the natural energy of the earth around you. You are more in rhythm. Like May, to me, I can feel the rhythm of the world, and she's starting to feel a little more connected, thankfully, even though those that are screaming are going to continue screaming really loudly. And it's going to feel like the world is really disparate, because in instances it is. May really is a month of connection if we can look for those glimmers, for those moments, instead of focusing on all of the bad. You know, we focus on all of the bad in April, right? Like the horrors persisted. And so we continued to watch, and not that I think that we need to look away in May by any means. Do not look away. We need to keep looking at everything happening in the world and using our voices and not being afraid to, speak about it. But joy can live simultaneously with that. And it actually needs to, because you need the opposite end of the emotional spectrum to balance it. If all of this despair and sadness is out there, guess what? That means that there can be just as much joy, if not more so, because of the law of balance. Okay. If you've experienced the deepest dark night of the soul that you've ever experienced, guess what? All of that darkness can also be transmuted into light. That's how much light that you can experience. That's how much you have like a capacity for, I should say. So it makes me excited, because as much as the earth has been dark lately, that's how much capacity we have for goodness. That's how much capacity we have for light. If we can come together, if we can be one people again. And it starts with you. It starts with those little moments of connection. Like I said, maybe it's smiling at a stranger. Maybe it's sparking a conversation with someone that you wouldn't normally talk with. Maybe it's starting with something positive instead of starting with a criticism. You know what? That's the key right here. We're going to be gateless in May. So for those of you that don't know what gateless is, Suzanne Kingsbury, this amazing, MFA writer, came up with the idea of gateless because she was really burnt out getting her MFA. She was having to write a lot. It was being critiqued a lot by people, and she just felt like she was being torn apart. And she said there has to be a better way to do this, because people are going to give up. They're not going to want to go all the way through this process if all you're doing is tearing them down. And so the idea of gateless is that you see what has truth, what has love, what has beauty, what has resonance, and you mirror that back to people instead of your criticism. And I think it's just a beautiful, really beautiful philosophy and way to be in the world. And it's coming through really strongly as like a way to be in May, to be gateless with your friends, with your life, with work. You know, how can you be generous with your compliments? How can you be generous, you know, not necessarily with your time? I get it. People don't have much time these days, myself included. I'm a mom of two, but you know what's absolutely free? Your compliments, your kind words, you know, your extra like on someone's post, your share so that their business gets more reach. All of those things are free. And there are ways to connect you with other people, and there are ways to spread love. Okay? And that's really what it's about in May, is being that love, being that joy, being that beacon, you know. And maybe you're listening right now and you're like, Victoria, I am so fucking far from that. Like, I can't be a beacon of hope for any fucking body. That's fine. Then you look around for that beacon of hope in your community. If you don't have one in your community, look at it online. Find that beacon of hope for you so that you can then become that beacon for others, okay? It's okay if you're not the light currently. Find a light to help you start to shine yours again. It's not to then be a mimicry of that person, right? Or just do exactly what they do. But instead, what is your version of that light? What does it look like to have your light turned on in May? And maybe that's different than what you expected. Actually, I really hope it is. Maybe there's a little seed or a little secret that's been in your heart that you've been wanting to do that you are kind of afraid of. But maybe in May, you let yourself dream and you let it bloom. Okay. Joy isn't selfish. It's necessary. Art is necessary. You know, I don't give a fuck what Timothée Chalamet says. Like, art and ballet are necessary. We need beautiful things in the world, especially when the world is falling apart. And May really feels like a month of beauty if you can allow yourself to lean into it, especially those like Taurian vibes, right? You know, like I really always think of like lounging Grecian statues and, you know, people say Taurus is lazy. I want to redirect that energy and say it's not lazy. Tauruses are luxurious. Okay. So like, let's luxuriate in our lives in May, because the world is going to keep turning and things are going to speed up and things are always going to be happening. But if you luxuriate in the present, if you luxuriate in what you already have, that's how you attract more. That's how you attract the things that are meant for you. Okay, so May's energy is really beautiful, but you're still slowing down. Okay, especially, you know, it's gonna, as the energy picks up towards the end of the month, the Gemini season is a very different energy than Taurus. Once we hit Gemini, about halfway through the month, that energy is air. It is communication. It's you know, really, it's a very fun energy. I think Gemini gets a bad rap as being like two-faced. It's not that it's two-faced. Gemini is very shapeshifter energy. Gemini, I love Gemini energy actually as an energy to work with for transformation. So if you use Taurus and Gemini together in the month of May, it's really beautiful because you start the month really luxuriating in who you are and, you know, your physical environment and your physical body. And then as the energy picks up in Gemini, like, you get to share that with others. You know, maybe you're hosting parties and having people come over. Maybe you're going out and about because you feel more energized. Maybe you're putting more energy into your business, you know, because you took that time at the beginning of the month to slow down, to rest, to reset, to enjoy where you are. Okay? Life is a journey. The journey is the point, people. The destination is not. May is all about the journey. It's all about the detours that you take to enjoy the road along the way. Yes, maybe you have this big goal in mind. You want to give a TEDx speech. You want to launch a new program. You want to do XYZ. That's great. The thing is not the point. The journey is the point. The lessons that you learn along the way to that thing are the point, so that you're not let down at the end of it. Okay. It's not this big shiny thing you keep on a pedestal. Whatever this accomplishment is, it's not who you are. It's a title. It's another accolade. It's how you feel and how you have felt accomplishing and creating this thing. That's important. So that's the energy of May, is like keeping that joy, keeping that zest for life alive while you create, while you build, because that's going to be felt. when you go to talk to people, when you go to communicate about it, when you go to share it with the world. May is a really, really special month, and can be really soft and beautiful and lovely if you allow it to be, if you look for the good, if you continue to be gateless with yourself and with those around you, instead of looking for the criticism, instead of looking for the bad. You know, what is it in times of crisis? They say, look for the healers, look for the helpers. That's what it is. Times of crisis, look for the helpers. And it's okay if you're not ready to be a helper in this moment. Look for the helpers, look for the light, so that you can be inspired to maybe one day be, or maybe you're just the little light in your orbit, in for your family, for the world around you. And that's enough. You are enough. This month, you don't need to do or be or add anything to the list than what you already are. Can you just let yourself enjoy being in your skin, in your body, standing where you are with your own 2 feet? How much pleasure can you let yourself feel this month? And can pleasure not be a dirty word? Can it be a leadership strategy? Can it be your barometer of whether or not you should still be in the room? If you're not having fun while you're doing it this next month, I want you to reevaluate whether or not you should continue. And I get, as an adult, there are certain things that we have to do that we don't want to do that aren't necessarily fun, but they can be made fun, right? If there are other areas of your life where like it's just sucking you dry, it's going to become really clear. And then it's up to you to make a change. But I think that's all for May. It's a really juicy, really beautiful month of unfolding, of being in community and being together and being connected. If you allow yourself to be, we can grow our roots even stronger this May, together, across party lines, across policy lines, across everything, because we are just humans. And that seems to be the big reminder this month, that we're humans and we should support one another, that there's only so much and so many of us, and we are only one small subspecies in a vast, 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 vast universe. Instead of trying to kill ourselves, maybe we should create more art. Anyway, I think that's it. Thank you guys for being here. If you've enjoyed the forecast, please like, rate, subscribe, review, share it with someone that needs to know what's going on in the month of May, and wants this energy reading from the Akashic Records. If you would like a personal one-on-one Akashic Records reading with me, I do those. I open your own personal record and you can ask any burning questions. I share the guidance that you need to know in the moment, plus any somatic practices, rituals, releases, all the things. You can book those at my website or in the show notes. May have got some fun things launching for Monarch Mystery School. So take a peek over there if you are into a ritual series and a leadership recode that's coming very soon. Keep your eyes peeled. And I think that's it. Be good to one another, you guys. I love you so much. I'll see you next week. Mwah.